Welcome everyone here. This event is being recorded. The photos will be taken during the event for posting to the WPI website. All guests will be muted during the program presentation. For your best viewing opportunity, you may wish to toggle your screen to speaker view. You can do this at the top right corner of your monitor, where you have the ability to change this from gallery view to speaker view. After a brief Tech Old Timers business meeting, it's always short, our featured program will begin at 2 o'clock. Following our presentation, we invite you to stay with us for a social gathering that will end at 3:30. You may submit questions via your chat feature on your screen at the bottom of your monitor. The questions will be compiled by a member of our staff, and we will address these following the presentation. A little background on Tech Old Timers. We're a long-standing organization. We're now in our 62nd year. We're a social organization bringing members of the community together. We consist of faculty, staff, and of course, retired alumni, and soon to be retired. We try to meet during the school year, usually on campus, but as you see, we're now doing it via Zoom, and it's working. So we'll continue to do that until we can go back on campus. You're welcome to support Tech Old Timers with a gift to directly support our programming. We search for us on WPI's website for more information and upcoming programming. Carrying on our tradition, I'd like to now have our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which
it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
And to continue our tradition, I just have three short jokes. There are, of course, Norwegian Swede jokes because I'm the Norwegian side. And if anyone wants to come in as a Swede, please do so. We have friendly camaraderie along the joke side. And of course, my wife says, don't stay on these Scandinavian jokes, give one that isn't, so I'll do that also. The first one is called Bird Dog. There was these two Swedish hunting buddies who went to Norway and bought a bird dog. Later, they returned to Sweden to test the dog, but they were very, very disappointed. Finally, one of the Swedes says, "We've been cheated. We might as well just give the dog away." The other Swede looked back at his buddy. "Yeah, we'll give him one more chance. Throw him up in the air again. And if he doesn't fly, we'll just have to give him away to someone else." It takes a second, but you'll get it. Bird, dog, okay. The next one is test pilot. Once there were two Norwegians and a Swedish test pilot who were flying a Saab new jet fighter. Suddenly the plane caught fire and everyone realized that they'd have to bail out. The problem, however, seemed to be that there were only two parachutes in the plane. The Swede says, "My intellect is so big that it cannot possibly be lost to mankind. What are we going to do now? I'll take that parachute." He goes out the door. The two Norwegians are left. "What are we going to do now?" One of them says to the other. "Well, we'll just jump. The great intellect grabbed my backsack." And the third one is called lumber. Two Swedes go out into the lumber yard to buy some 2x4s. "May I help you?" asks the salesman. "How long do you want them?" One Swede replies, "Oh, for a long time. We're building a house." And finally, this one is not Scandinavian. This one's called A Long Happy Life. A woman walks up to a little old man rocking in a chair on the porch. "I couldn't help noticing how happy you look. What's your secret for a long, happy life?" "I smoke 3 packs of cigarettes a day. I drink a case of whiskey a week, eat fatty foods, and I never exercise." "That's amazing," the woman said. How old are you?" 26. And I'd like now to call on our alumna, Paula Delaney, class of 1975, with our secretary's report.
Thank you, Neil. Our last meeting was September 9th, 2020, and the meeting was called to order by Al Levesque. And following the Pledge of Allegiance, the Secretary and Treasurer reports were read. Membership and attendance for our first Zoom meeting included about 60 attendees. The audience also included alumni who were had received information on what our topic was going to be. So that upped the attendance. The Office of Alumni Lifetime Engagement provided updates on recent campus events. And our presentation was about the Worcester Red Sox and the Polar Park sneak peek. Our presenters were Paul Puckett, Red Sox Executive Vice President Dan Ray, and Group Events Manager Ryan Megan. They provide us an update on the Red Sox Polar Park and vitalization of the city of Worcester. The PowerPoint presentation provided images of the current status of the development and many illustrations of the areas of the proposed park, including views from the field, from the stands, concessions, group event areas, and the central Worcester area skyline from the stands. Discussion talked about parking, commuter rail opportunities, season tickets, and pictures of the current status of development at and around the park. WPI has been named the official Worcester Red Sox Academic Technology Advisor, and WPI is helping the club design and develop Polar Park. The park is expected to open in the spring of 2021. It's respectfully submitted, Paula Delaney, class of 75. Are there any questions? Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Call on Al Levesque, class of 59, for our treasurer's report. He's there somewhere.
He's going to have to unmute.
There we go. Okay, thank you, Neil. As is our custom, the treasurer report is essentially a report of the previous month's bank statement on our Bank of America account. And at the beginning of this month, the beginning checking account balance was $4,147.50. There are no receipts posted to the account this month and no disbursements made during this reporting period. Therefore, the ending balance is unchanged at $4,147.52. In summary for the year, since we are not requesting dues payments this year as we've advertised in our correspondence, there are no dues receipts for this year's program. However, some donations have begun to come in, and I'll begin reporting on those in next month's report. And thus far in this year's program, no speaker fees have been paid, but there is one pending, and I'll report on that next month. Respectfully submitted, Alan Levesque, class of 1959, treasurer. Any questions about the report? Being none, may I have a motion to accept? Second?
Amen.
Thank you very much.
Student Alumni Society report is Michelle. I have to remember how to pronounce the last name now. Class of 2021.
All right, I'm gonna share my screen. I just have a short slide. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
I see.
Yep.
Ghosts.
Great. So hi, I'm Michelle Santa Cruz. I'm the current chair of the Student Alumni Society. So this year we were able to put on Earl Bridge Crossing for the incoming freshman class. We had a socially distant event over about 6 hours. And and it went really well, and I'm really glad we were able to do that. Last week for Giving Day, we did a treasure hunt on social media with different facts that people were able to complete either in person or they could do it online. And then for upcoming events, we're doing a Haunting on the Hill event in B-term. So we're going to decorate different spaces on campus for Halloween and have a haunted history hunt along with that. And we're also starting to plan our Founders Day events. And then below are just 2 pictures from bridge crossing. One of our members made a mask for Gompy as well. Are there any questions?
Yes, Michelle, can you tell me what the Earl Bridge crossing was or is?
Yeah, so every year at the end of new student orientation, the entire freshman class will cross the bridge together, and they'll go in the direction from the quad, going across the bridge towards Boynton and all of the academic buildings, signifying their journey and their time starting at WPI. And we also give them a beanie and a tech Bible. And then senior year, when you graduate, they'll cross the bridge again once more as an entire class, but going in the opposite direction towards the quad for commencement.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm Richard Brewster, class of 60.
Thank you. All right. Thank you all for having me. And I would now like to call on Peter Thomas, Executive Director of the Office of Lifetime Engagement, to provide the Alumni Relations Report.
Thanks, Michelle. I said it earlier before everyone joined in, but our students are doing just an amazing job. I'm so proud of all of them in terms of their ability to do their classes, work somewhat remotely, and be able to stay safe while on campus. They've done a fabulous job. Well, folks, I'm thrilled to be here today and to see so many of you here from all over the place. Zoom is interesting that way. The only limitation, I guess, now is time zone. But it's been a busy fall on and off campus. Advancement has planned a slate of engagement opportunities. We just had homecoming by bringing the hill to your home, as on-campus events were not happening. This included social, educational, class, and varsity gatherings. Pep Band had their 50th anniversary, which was a great event. And the Alumni Association honored Janet Richardson for her years of service with the prestigious Goat's Head Award for lifetime commitment to WPI. Janet was the first female vice president on campus and served, I believe, 30 some odd years at WPI. So really a wonderful honor for her. Last week we celebrated Giving Day, and thank you for all of you who participated. Shout out to SAS alumni who provided a match for that day, and a shout out to the alumni board who did so as well. We raised $376,000 and had over 920 donors. So again, a great effort by everyone, and great to see the WPI community coming together for such an important activity. These funds will support WPI's distinctive hands-on project-based education and the groups, projects, and programs that mean the most to you and make our students' WPI experience special. So again, thank you for making a difference. Last night, we hosted Finding and Funding College, and we had 40 alumni parents join us to learn from our admissions experts on how they might go about getting their children ready for the application process, both at WPI and elsewhere. A very informative session, and hats off to admissions for helping us to make that happen. On October 15th, we're going to have a career conversation with Bill Lapp, 02. A very interesting gentleman who has had multiple career activities and a fairly crooked path to his success that he is going to be openly sharing with folks who'd like to learn more about how to advance their careers. On October 27th, the women of WPI are hosting a virtual workshop, providing skills to be the CEO of your own career and the tools to build your own personal board of directors. Sounds like a great program, and hope you'll be able to join us that day. There are more things to come in the fall and winter, so keep an eye out for the postings. Global School is also hosting a series of events that may be of interest to you, and you can always visit WPI Tech Connect to see the upcoming events. this time, let's bring Neil back and start the featured program.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Lisa Stoddard is an associate professor for the WPI Global School's Social Science and Policy Studies. In addition, she's co-director for International Development, Environment, and Sustainability, coordinator for the Environmental and Sustainability Studies program, and director of the Farm Stay Project Center. Lisa is a human environment geographer who is interested in the intersection of nature, society, and justice, particularly in the context of climate change. She looks at the way in which we can design for climate resilience in terms of infrastructure, location, specific practices, and through community resilience. She looks at the ways in which technology, policies, and social movement can make powerful change to make food systems more resilient and just. Lisa believes that teaching, advising, and working with and learning from students is the best job a person can do. She works to provide students with transferable skills, tools, and knowledge that can enable them to succeed in the area of interest, in their workplace, and as change agents in the world. Please welcome Professor Lisa Stoddard.
Thank you so much, Neil, and thank you everyone for having us here today. We're really excited to talk with you about the Farm Stay Project Center. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, can everyone see that?
Oh, yes.
All right, perfect. So I'm here today with Lisa Burris, who is the Executive Director of Turn Back Time, the location of the Farm Stay Project Center, as well as by Kathy King, who's a WPI alum and a board member of Turn Back Time. Oops. So we started thinking about the need for the Farm Stay Project Center when we were looking at students who participate in IQP, our third year project program. And we have about 80% of WPI graduates who participate in an off-campus project. And so, you know, they typically do at one of our 52 project centers across the globe. And we have research both that's been conducted at WPI as well as external research that shows that this results in tremendous personal, academic, and professional growth. However, we have about 20% of our students each year, so that's about 220 students per class, that aren't able to have any off-campus project experience. These students often have responsibilities in the areas of ROTC, jobs, family obligations. Some are student athletes. Some are dealing with health issues. We have some transfer students that often struggle to do an off-campus project because of trying to make up classes to graduate. And then certain students that have personal needs or concerns, students with gender identity who don't feel comfortable going or safe going abroad. So these students don't get to have some of the signature experiences that the majority of our students are able to get during their time at WPI. So Turn Back Time is in Paxton, Massachusetts, about 25 minutes from campus. And we've been working with Turn Back Time for non-residential projects. You can see some students on the left. These are GPS students. So these are our first year project students. And they do a field trip here every year as part of Heal the World. They learn about the ways in which being outside in nature really has physical health benefits as well as emotional and mental health benefits. And they absolutely love this field trip every year. We also have had IQP projects here, MQP projects here, and as well as some graduate research. Now, as I got to know Turn Back Time from working with them over the last 3 or so years, I was able to see the immense potential for projects and collaborations here. So Turn Back Time has educational programs for kids from preschool through adult education programs. There are opportunities for studies in biology, ecology, education, for projects focused around energy, water capture, and water purification. So there's so much there that we really started to look into the potential of having a farm stay project center located at Turnback Time. So that was kind of the impetus in how we began here. We also have a growing number of students who come to WPI and enter our teacher training prep program. These students want to go on to become science teachers, and they have some great opportunities here to be able to enjoy some internships at Turnback Time, teaching children early STEM education outdoors. So we're really excited for the first rollout of the Farm Stay Project Center. Will start this D term. And so this will provide a number of new opportunities, both for IQP students who will have now residential projects, but also for other programs at WPI. So Turnback Time is a working farm and nature education center. They have acres and acres of gardens. They have farm animals, an active beaver pond, as well as active hiking trails that are still continuing to be designed and built. So the residential forest yurt village is currently under construction with some great help and support of the 2020 class gift. We were able to purchase the first 2 yurts for the yurt village. So in the yurt village, oops, sorry. The yurt village is furnished with housing, are fully furnished. So each of them will have a wood pellet stove for cooler weather. The doors and windows open and shut and close, they're permanent. And we are looking at, where we currently have 2 yurts, we're looking at the village of having up to 4 to 6, up to 6 yurts. And they'll be fully furnished with bunk beds. And the interior design is currently being worked on with Tanya Domingo, a member of WPI's faculty. So what is a yurt? We've learned a lot about this since we've started. A yurt is a semi-permanent circular tent. It has solid wood floors. The frame of the yurt is made from wooden poles that form lattice walls. They're covered with a weatherproof canvas to create the walls. And the yurts have solid wood doors, windows with screens and zippered weather flaps. And the yurts will also have Wi-Fi so students can do their homework and do work on their particular projects. Also have power and heat, as I mentioned. So there's land has currently been cleared for a bathhouse and indoor kitchen facility. The land's been cleared and there's been water and septic put in, and next steps are that for the facility to be built by D term of 2020. There'll also be a commercial indoor kitchen inside in the same unit as the bathhouse, as well as an outdoor kitchen. This outdoor kitchen was built in this past spring, so D term. We had 4 students who did a beautiful job both designing, and then they managed to build the kitchen piece by piece in their separate locations because of COVID, and then transfer them to the farm. The outdoor kitchen, which Lisa Burris will show us in a little bit on her tour, has granite countertops. It has a rocket stove, which is a wood burning cooking stove that produces less emissions. Also has a pizza oven, working prep stations. And there's also a fire pit there surrounded by a patio. So students can eat there, as well as in the indoor kitchen, as well as one of the community yurts. There's also lawn games outside that students can enjoy in the afternoon or evening when they're not doing work. And there's also beautiful stars at night. And it's a wonderful space to sit around in the evening. So students will need to shop at the grocery store and bring their food to the farm to prepare. In the indoor commercial kitchen, there will be a refrigerator for students to keep their groceries. Our students were able to, who built the outdoor kitchen, were able to help secure a pizza oven, so students can cook at the farm. Students will also receive a weekly farm share. So you can see in this top middle picture, that is the gardens at Turn Back Time. These were also built by an IQP team. And Lisa will show you that as well. But this has led to their building that has led to a CSA, community supported agriculture. So people buying shares in the farm and getting vegetables weekly. So our students will be able to enjoy as well in a weekly farm share, as well as they'll be treated to a weekly farm dinner. There's also a couple of local markets and pizza places nearby. So most project centers do a trip while they're away. So students that are going to Guatemala and various places in Europe, they do day trips and weekend trips. So we really wanted to make sure that these students had the full experience of an off-campus residential IQP. And so we will be taking local trips to Central and Western Mass to look at different innovative farms that are doing renewable energy, sustainable food production, et cetera, water harvesting. We'll also be taking a trip to an experimental farm in Vermont. It's about an hour from Burlington, Vermont. And so our students will stay close to the farm, and we'll also make some day trips to Burlington. Our students, with their current tuition for the program, they will be able to take classes on the farm. So this will include foraging, a guided foraging class. So that's foraging for wild mushrooms and berries, yoga with goats, other wellness programs. They'll also have the opportunity to get a certified in wilderness survival. So there's a wilderness survival training program there, and our students can become fully certified. They'll also have the opportunity to do daily chores if they like. So harvesting crops and vegetables and feeding animals on the farm. So types of projects that are done at the farm, they range from renewable energy. So one of the things that Turn Back Time is looking at is how can you integrate and connect diverse sources of energy to supply the farm with power? In terms of water, how do we harvest and filter water to meet the farm's diverse and intense water needs? So some group of our students for IQP, they did a rainwater catchment system, and that's feeding the garden. But what about for hand washing or for giving water to the animals or the many other water needs that are on the farm, ranging from drinking to hand washing to toilets, etc. Resilient agriculture. So how can we take advantage of climate change and also at the same time protect the farm from hazards and extremes? When we started doing projects at WPI, it was during a drought, and Turn Back Time's water source was completely dried out, which meant that they had no crops, which meant that instead of books, textbooks and materials like that at Turn Back Time, we've got crops and plants and animals. So without those plants, without those vegetables, it takes away that learning opportunity. It takes away those textbooks from the children that learn there. And then also, how can we teach kids STEM through play and exploration outdoors? So project-based learning, learning through exploration, and for students who are interested in our teaching prep program, this is a big focus. So some current projects that we've done, we had an MQP team build this beautiful greenhouse. We had some great success with it when it was first built and growing tomatoes. And then we learned about failure. The first snow, this entire thing collapsed and came crashing down. Thankfully, nobody was hurt, but it did provide the opportunity for those students to learn that something that they had constructed in a $5,000 greenhouse that cost money failed. And so this year we have another MQP team that is evaluating the fallen greenhouse to learn what resulted, what was the cause of the failure, and to build a new greenhouse. We have projects in the area of design thinking and maker culture. So this is an IQP team. You can see in the top left, this is where they started, a big pile of dirt, working on leveling it, designing where the garden would be. While we first got turn back time water, which was great through the rainwater catchment system. Then they were growing tons of crops, but then they had every animal from the woods and around going in there and eating all the crops. So again, kind of losing our quote textbooks. So this team designed a fully enclosed garden. They worked to have a screen around the fencing around the sides and over the top, bird netting over the top, that would let in pollinators but keep pests out. We had WPI volunteers who built these raised bed boxes, and the bottom pictures are the result. So growing more crops than turn back time has ever been able to grow. Kids harvesting and learning about, from seed to growing and harvesting, and a new program at turn back time where the kids were learning math and business through a farm stand, selling crops at a farm stand. We also have projects in the area of project-based learning and early STEM education. So this is an IQP team. They built some learning stations throughout the farm. The one that's featured here, they took tree stumps and they sanded them down, and then they used a wood burning tool to burn in local wildlife and flora and fauna. They first did some research. These were a lot of biology students, did some research, biology and ecology students that looked at, what does this local ecosystem look like? After doing this wood burning, they cemented these in the ground, and the kids learn about food webs by jumping from stump to stump to connect the food web in different ways. So one of the other benefits about turn back time is there's opportunities to build and test farm infrastructure. So many IQPs, they get up to the kind of the design and the theoretical implementation, but they don't often get to actually build and test out, right? So we have that opportunity at turn back time of really doing quite a lot of actual building. And really testing that out. So in what conditions can this be successful? Learning about failures and recreating and seeing how that might be able to be replicated in our other project centers globally. And also students have really enjoyed being able to check in on their progress and stay connected, to connect IQP projects to future MQP projects. And so you can see these students here coming back and being thrilled to see that the farm was fully functional and producing a great crop that summer. So these are just some additional pictures of our students at turn back time. These are, again, GPS students coming. They were very stressed about getting back to campus on time for their next class, and then we had to literally drag them to get back on the bus and come home. So we have my last couple of slides here. There's fully residential and semi-residential opportunities to be able to create the opportunity for a residential off-campus project for all of our students. So both fully and semi-residential students will have a fully immersive project experience. They will live primarily on the farm, stay engaged with the community, but they are able to return to campus or leave for the weekend if they have obligations like ROTC, jobs, other appointments, etc. And WPI projects have now helped to serve over 600 children, exposing them to about 16,000 hours of STEM education in nature, with over 30% of the children at the farm coming from underserved populations, including students or children with a documented diagnosis, those who live in foster care, and children living below the poverty line. And so while this Farm Stay Project Center is really benefiting our WPI students, they in turn are really giving back to the children that attend the farm's programs. So thank you very much. I can take a moment for questions, or we can move on to the portion with Lisa Burris. Maureen, do you have a preference? Should we do questions at the end?
Yes, let's do questions at the end and get to Lisa Burris just because of the weather situation.
Sounds perfect.
Thank
Okay. Lisa Burris, you let me know when you want me to advance the slides. I'll go ahead and go to your first slide.
Okay. Sure. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for having us. I just, for the most part, I'm going to be walking around the farm and showing you the farm, but I did want to show you, we have received our engineered plans and actually submitted them for permitting. So this first slide that Lisa's showing you here is our phase one, if you will, of the project, which is the 2 community yurts that we have going in, and then the design for the bathhouse. Lisa, go to the next slide there. So these are the engineered designs for the yurts. Lisa showed you a picture. A yurt is a circular structure, tent-like. I always tell people, think glamping. And this will be the main space where the students will gather and do their work when they're meeting together. We are going to start, and I'll talk more about that in a few minutes, but we're going to start fundraising for the yurts that will actually be used for the students to sleep in. So Lisa, I think that's it. You can stop sharing, and then I'm gonna, yeah, there we go. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about where we are right now before I start to walk around the farm. I wanted to let you know that the yurts are here. I'll show you, they're in boxes up on the farm, but that's really exciting. We do have Wi-Fi installed. We actually thought that was going to take some time, and we ended up having a volunteer come and completely install Wi-Fi. So we're ready for the students to come, whether they're here as a off-campus project or an immersive project. We're ready for them. One of the things that we're really disappointed with is that lumber costs have increased dramatically, which is going to really throw our budget off, but we're just going to do the best we can. One of the things that's happened with this project is we just keep moving forward, and it just keeps happening the way it's supposed to happen. I mean, who would have thought in the middle of a pandemic that we would raise funds to build these structures? So we're pretty excited about that. We're hoping to complete the 2 initial yurts by mid-November, and the bathhouse will be constructed probably late fall or early spring, depending on how cooperative the weather is with us. So I'm going to take a little tour and show you guys. Hopefully I'm not going to make anybody nauseous. And of course, it just started raining here on the farm. But one of the things that you'll notice is on the farm, we say there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing. So we're not going to stress out about that. I'm going to switch my camera if I can here. There we go. So here we are. Take a little walk. I'm just going to start down and just walk you through the main part of the farm. The farm is 58 acres. We have an active beaver pond, a working farm, a trail system, and this is a map that was done by a scout. So you can see it's animated, but it does show you our extensive trail system and the different places, if you would, classrooms that the students participate in activities here on the farm. So the first project that I want to show you that some students worked on in the spring, and this project was in the middle of being designed right when the pandemic hit. This is a chicken coop, which we needed because in the fall and spring, our chickens are at risk for predators. So this spring, we actually lost 14 chickens in one day. We ended up with 3 chickens. And if we don't have chickens, they can't lay eggs. And just chickens and eggs alone can give you a curriculum that could last a whole year. So the students designed this structure. My husband and my son built it. We still have a little work to do on it, but this is a predator-proof structure. They did some research. Previously, they had been in that white coop over there, but this has worked amazing. We haven't lost 1 chicken since we built this. So the farm is the main farm area. This is where the kids come up and they'll play. We have an apple tree for climbing. I love that this is the old timers group because that's why we're here. My husband and I, that's why we're called Turn Back Time. We started to remember what it felt like as children and all of the learning opportunities that we had as children outdoors. And we felt like that was disappearing from childhood. So I was working for a medical device manufacturer. We sold our house and bought a farm, and here we are. There's nothing here when we got here. So we have We have this pavilion that we built and this barn. This pavilion is acting as a classroom for some kindergartners right now because their parents did not want to send them to school where they would be indoors. There's Miss Katie, our classroom teacher for the kindergartners. And then in 2018, this was another huge growth for the farm. We built this 2,400 square foot barn, and the barn has space for the animals. We have some open play space. And then at the end, I'm going to go in and show you some of the projects that the students worked on, but we have also a nature's classroom. So this is Miss Bettany, who is just putting together our CSA. We have a community supported agriculture share that some of the parents participate in each week. So this week they're getting some tomatoes and potatoes and radishes and things like that. So this, again, this curriculum opportunities here with these activities that are they gravitate towards, gives us the opportunity to teach math and science. And Miss Bettany works with some of the homeschool classes, teaching them about soil health and water filtration and whatnot. So the second project that I want to show you, this is the, as the students called it, the Fort Knox of gardens. Every year we would grow all of these vegetables, and every year, right when they were ready to be harvested, something would eat them. So the students designed these garden beds, and I'm going to take you in the garden in a minute, but I actually wanted to show you a funny, sometimes when I look at this pile, I think, oh, it looks so messy, but we actually do raised bed gardens here, and we do the style of gardening called lasagna gardening. So we recycle this cardboard, you put it on the ground, and you put because it promotes worm growth, which is, if anybody's a gardener, they know worms are amazing for gardens. So these garden beds here were designed by an IQP project and built by one of the fraternities at WPI. Our garden, obviously it's fall, so we're winding down, but we have the raised beds, and then we trellis some of the vegetables up through the fencing and whatnot. So we're about at the end of this, but so this is called what we call our production garden. So the main purpose of this garden is to produce vegetables to sell at a farm stand or for our community supported agriculture. And then this other garden over here, here's one of our outdoor classrooms. This is the greenhouse that wasn't, it was, and then it wasn't, but that's okay. A lot of people were wondering how I felt about that. And I keep telling everybody, this is, I'm going to turn the camera around for a second. This is a learning opportunity for students. So if we expect students to come and work on these projects and have no failures, that's unrealistic. That's not what we expect from the 3-year-olds, and it's not what we expect from college students. So when 3-year-olds come here, they're learning resilience, they're learning how to make mistakes and learn from their mistakes. And in my opinion, it's no different with the college students. And so for them to actually be able to come and do this, and then they learn, and now another whole group of students is learning from the previous students' failures. So they're designing a new greenhouse for us. So, and I wasn't upset about it at all. It is, that's how kids learn. That's how we all learn, is through failure. So I want to go back to this other garden. So this is our interactive garden. The purpose of this garden is a teaching garden. So this garden is intended for children to come in and feel like they're a part of this. These beds here were planted by a homeschool group. So they did some math with measuring and putting the seeds in rows and working on all of that. And this is another smaller rainwater system. I'm going to show you the bigger one in a few minutes. And again, this is all about play and engaging children through play. Once they can play, then they start to be interested in learning. So we have our garden bed. This is an old car bed. We have our hoops here, so there'll be tunnels for the kids to go and climb in. We have our green bean teepee that they can go and hide. Kids love small spaces. So this garden is all about, I always tell my staff, they're going to pick it too soon. They're going to step in the garden bed, and we need to all be okay with that because that's how they're learning. So this was, again, part of that project that the team worked on. You see that beautiful sky over there, that the team worked on last year to get these. And these are all, we haven't lost any produce from these gardens. I would say probably one of the biggest game-changing projects that the kids have worked on so far is this rainwater catchment system. So as Lisa mentioned, previous to having this rainwater catchment system, we were pumping water off our beaver pond. And so when we had a drought, the beaver pond dried up. And my husband went 50 feet deeper and it dried up again. And if you don't have water, then you're not going to be able to produce crops. So 2 years ago, the students worked on this rainwater catchment system. It catches the water off the barn and goes into this 1,500 gallon tank. So this year we had a drought and we actually probably had, I bet, about 100 gallons of water left, and it ended up raining. So it's been amazing working on that. So I'm going to show you the last project, and then I want to show you where the yurts will go. So the last project was this outdoor kitchen, which again, this project was being worked on and designed right in the midst of the pandemic. But we still ended up being able to build it. So this is an outdoor kitchen. This is for the students that will come here to work on their IQP projects, but it's also for the students, the younger students who come here. We can do cooking with them, and you go pick a vegetable, bring it over here and cook it, and that's how you get kids to eat vegetables. So this is a pergola, which has a plastic roof on the top. We have a stove here that was donated, which is a rocket stove. Let's see if I can take this off. It's a pretty cool little feature. Heats up very quickly. So we have this that was donated by one of the dads, actually, whose student designed this. And then we have this, this little area here will have a pizza oven on it, which we already have. And then this beautiful cabinet will have an outdoor sink. So that what we're hoping is to create a connection here so that we can go right into this garden, pick some of our produce and bring it here to cook. And then you see this fire pit here, and a gathering space for the students when they're having their downtime. So yeah, so those are some of the projects that the kids worked on. I'm going to go into the classroom and show you some of the curriculum that they've created for us. But before I go in, while we're still outside, I wanted to show you where the yurts are going to go, and how we'll set up the area. So just circle around here again. So this is actually where the two larger 27-foot round yurts will go. These yurts will sit side by side with a beautiful deck built around them. And then over here, just inside this wooded area, we'll create a pass through here that will be handicap accessible. And then right behind in this whole area here will be the sleeping yurts. So the kids will feel close enough to facilities, but still feel like they're immersed in nature. So these are the yurts over here. We took them about 2 months to produce the yurts, and they come in kits. And so first we have to get our permit, and then we'll build, all of these yurts are going to be built on pillars. Then we'll build the deck around it. And then the the yurts go on top of the deck, but you can see this beautiful round dome that goes on the top for lighting. So we're pretty excited. This is some of the, I don't know if you can see the wood. So these will all come in little kits. And from what I understand, the actual yurt itself is probably only going to take us about a day to put up. I'm actually standing on our brand new septic system, which is a game changer for us. And then this area here is where the bathhouse will go. So having running water, septic system is an amazing thing for us. We've actually run this program for 7 years with no running water. We carry water up here. We're using compostable toilets. So we feel like we're really growing up and getting to the next stage. A lot of people talk about the barn and the some of these projects that we're working on, that they're really demonstrating our permanence in the community. So having these permanent structures here lets people know this is a very unusual program for this area. We were the first one in the area. And I think it's really helping people to know and understand that we're not going anywhere and that we want to be here for the community. So I'm just stepping into the classroom. Before I finish up, I wanted to show you some of the amazing curriculum that these students have created for us. So this particular curriculum is, we believe that we have 2 vernal pools on our property. And so some students created some curriculum for us to use. They took an old Guess Who game and made this game with all of the species that you would find in a vernal pool. They actually created a field guide for us, so we can take this with us while we're on the trails, and it explains all of the things that we might find in the vernal pool. And then these beautiful wood, we call them tree cookies, to lead us to the pool. So these will actually go on the trees and help us to find the vernal pool. One of the projects that Lisa had shown was the stumps that had been wood burned that were in the forest, the larger stumps. So that project, those students actually built us a field guide that is specific to where we are. So there's a section in the forest, and it's right here on this map. And they took that section, which is right over here, and then they are showing the kids all of the different things that they might find in that area in the woods. And then they made these also another little toy. So when kids play with things and then they get inquisitive and they start asking questions. And so here's another little guide for some of the areas that we're in. One of the other teams built this little solar panel situation. This is what these tubes can be used as telescopes in the near the beaver pond, so that the kids can look out and find all of these species over there. So it's been amazing. Having the students here working with us has been fantastic. We love having them. We feel very grateful for all of the work that they've done, and really helping our program to grow, and really helping us to not only meet the needs of children emotionally through nature, but academically through nature as well. So yeah, that's the tour of the farm. Thanks for walking with me. Hopefully I didn't make anybody too seasick, but I didn't know if we want to move right on to Kathy King, who actually has been on our board since we started. She's a WPI alum. We are so grateful. She's an amazing support to our program, and we're happy to have her. All right, Kathy.
I will share my screen again.
All right, thank you, Lisa.
See here.
So
let me know when you want me to advance.
All right, great. So just to introduce myself, so I am in class 89 biomed eng, who now has my nursing degree, and what Lisa Burris didn't really share is part of this mission of the farm. When we talk about the 30% of underserved students is we are both adoptive moms of children out of foster care. And a lot of our devotion to this outside learning comes from this idea that that there's a certain population that just somehow doesn't fit in all the time. And what's interesting about, this marries for me, my love of WPI and my love of Turn Back Time. The thing is, when we talk about a local project site, it is for students who might not be the typical WPI student. When I went to WPI, I barely had enough money to pay for freshman year. Didn't think I was definitely going to be able to go back sophomore year. I got an apartment off campus, and I honestly had no idea if I was going to be able to return. I was lucky enough, and I think Van A probably was just amazing enough to get me a Rudman scholarship. And so I was able to return to WPI, but I did still work for most of my time through WPI. I was also a student athlete. Going away to a project site was not going to be an option for me. I was somewhat atypical to some of the other friends I had on campus. And that's kind of the beauty of having a local IQP project site where you could potentially live off campus and feel immersed, but still get to those other commitments. I couldn't have given up work, and I couldn't have given up being at practice when I needed to be at practice. So that's just something for me. But this atypical student, we see those students on the farm. Some of our younger students, they don't, homeschoolers, for whatever reason, they're not sitting in a public school classroom and succeeding as well as we'd like. So parents bring them here, or social workers bring them to us, and we work with them on the farm. Go one more for me, Lisa. So I just wanted to give you a sense of where we are. Turn Back Time is up near the Worcester Regional Airport. It's pretty much WPI to the airport, and then another couple miles up the road on a back road. Location, location, location. This is what we're talking about, a local IQP site that allows us to offer being off campus while not feeling that you're too far from campus or too far from your commitments. You could go another slide. So I wanted to show you some of the social media posts that you might not see unless you're part of Turn Back Time. One of the nice things about marrying the WPI students with the WPI students with the Turn Back Time students is we have the ability to promote WPI and the WPI students and the work they're doing out in social media. And this is for younger kids and for families who are sending people to our farm. I think Turn Back Time has about a following of, I think we're up to 3,000. Is that about right, Lisa? How many are on our social media?
Yeah, I think it's probably about 2,800 on Facebook. Okay. Yeah, so right around there.
Okay, so this is, to me, a way to promote both WPI and Turn Back Time. We get to, we get to combine them both. And so these posts go up on a regular basis. So clearly this is the students working, and this was the one in the spring this year. Go ahead, Lisa, do one more time. So this was another one. I love this because they posted how Miss Madison's class was learning how to problem solve. And again, this is two very young females. And I just, as a cute little thing, I just put down, they'll be ready for WPI in no time. And look at the response I get. That's what we're banking on, right? Is this not what we want as WPI alum? I want 5 and 6 and 8-year-old girls and their parents to think that WPI would make the next big step, right? We want children to be challenged with engineering challenges, and I want them to try to figure out it on their own. Notice there's no teacher working with these students. We're trying to build resilience. We're trying to build self-reliance, and allow them to problem solve, which, there's a debate for early education, like, do you teach problem solving, or do they, or do people, is it innate? I think they teach themselves. And so I'm always happy to see this. And certainly, again, when I get a response like somebody saying this is what they're banking on, I feel like we're marrying the two almost seamlessly. One more, Lisa. I just love this because we do a lot on the farm. We have a lot of unique toys, right? Which are not toys at all. Like we talk about them being like, this is just like, people donate stuff. We have no idea what's going to happen with this stuff. Like every time I go there, there's a whole new, like, what are these things? These are just a bunch of spools that somebody dropped off. There's a whole bunch, or they're left over from when we build something. And these kids are just playing, right? We say they're just playing. It looks an awful lot like my first mechanical engineering class of my freshman year, where I was handed a box of things and said, who can build the biggest structure that can hold X amount of weight? So here they are, they're building this structure. And I just think it's so cute that they have figured out that their little faces fit inside the holes. And certainly these very busy young men are probably trying to either roll marbles or try to get water to go through the tubing. These kids go home filthy. They are caked in dirt, and they are so busy using their minds and being educated to STEM education without feeling like they're sitting in front of a computer screen or they're sitting at a desk. This is what we live for in terms of our time on the farm at Turn Back Time, but it's everything that I knew and loved about WPI. And the schools for me just remind me of that, again, freshman year for mechanical engineering, first experience in a machine shop. And we made spools that were pencil holders. And I loved it because I got to use the lathe and the drill press and work with the machinists. And the theory was that behind that was, we don't want you to design things that people can't build. So you better know how to build things with the tools that are in machine shops. And again, this is just, it's a reason why I'm on the board. I believe strongly in STEM education. I think that the society as a whole, the country as a whole, we need to do a better job across all the age groups of allowing problem solving, allowing failure and learning. And I can't say enough about how excited I am to have WPI and Turn Back Time working together. For me, it's like marrying my two favorite places. And I think that's it for me. There might be one more slide, but I don't think so. I'm not sure. I don't remember. Yeah, no. So yeah, I just wanted you to know that we certainly promote WPI as we do Turn Back Time in social media.
So Maureen, would this be a good time to start question and answer?
Yes, it sure is.
All right. Do you want to facilitate that, or would you like me to do so?
You're welcome to do that. I don't see any questions. Colleague Jen has taken a look at some chat feeds too to see if we have pre-questions.
How would you like people to ask questions? Would you like them to just unmute themselves or put it in the chat or raise a hand?
If they could put it in the chat, that would be preferred, but we can certainly ask people to raise their hand.
Yeah, Jen, of course.
I will monitor the chat, yes, but I just wanted to say, my colleague Jess and I believe Jess is on here right now, Lisa Burris, I just have to tell you, it is so exciting to see that outdoor kitchen. I don't know if you remember when we came, we just saw the plans.
Yeah.
So her and I were just chatting back and forth, and it is phenomenal. So I'm really happy that all of you got to see what we saw and the excitement that we felt when we were there. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it's been, like I said, it's been amazing because Turn Back Time was financially devastated by the pandemic, and having to shut down our programs for months was very, very scary for us. And yet, this is the thing that we keep saying, is that we just keep forging forward because things happen when they're supposed to. And here we are building yurts and being ready for the for the students when they're released to be able to spend time off the farm. We'll be ready for them. So we're very grateful to the people who have donated. We've had some alum donate the senior class gift. We ended up, one of the alum lives right down the road here. He was super supportive of this project. So we're very excited.
Amazing.
I just wanted to say, you know, Kathy brought up how much the little kids learn from being outside and exploring and building and, you know, being creative about putting things together. And, you know, one of the reasons we really wanted to have the farm stay program, instead of just having students go to the farm, you know, 2 to 5 times throughout their project, was that every time they would come to the farm, they were renewed again. They were excited and they said, we wish we could just be here. We bring GPS students. They are like out of their mind with anxiety. I've got to get back and I have lab and I have this. And I had a student write and say, you know, I'm really struggling in my first year. I'm dealing with depression, and I came to the farm and I felt like I could take a breath, and I learned and I enjoyed myself. And I wish that this would be more of a regular part of my learning experience. And every year in GPS, we have our students rate every single thing that we do. And the trip to Turn Back Time and really learning about what happens inside your brain and to your hormones and your nervous system when when your feet touch the ground with grass. What happens when you look at trees versus concrete or a screen. And so the same benefits that we're seeing with the little kids, we're seeing with our college students. And now, instead of being able to go there for, you know, an hour to 5 times throughout their project, they'll be living there. And I think that that's going to be a big difference.
So I guess no questions.
Yeah, do we have any more questions from the audience?
I see a question. Okay, you got it,
Yeah,
Lisa?
I got it. Yeah.
Okay.
So the question is, are there opportunities for families or community members to volunteer and help at the farm? Absolutely. Right now, because of COVID, we are not able to have volunteers while we're running programs, and we haven't been gathering with our normal farm service days and things like that. But normally we run a couple of service days a year, and then we also do a young adults with disabilities job skills training program. And then we'll do, if families have opportunity to come, we can schedule visits, sometimes groups. We've had corporate groups come and do volunteer days and things like that. So yes, we absolutely do have people. And then as far as visitation, just coming and not volunteering, but visiting, we do run events. We have a family farm adventure program running this weekend on Friday and Saturday. So we have different opportunities for families to come and join. And then I think I saw it. Was there another question? Oh, yes. Actually, we had talked about that. Someone asked, could the garden bed plans be posted? And we did talk about sharing those because they're amazing. So I'll have to have them on my computer. I can maybe share them with Lisa and she can figure out how to get them to people. But for sure, they've been fantastic and fairly easy to build. I mean, it takes a little time, but we had Miss Bettany, our gardener, built quite a few of them with like one other person helping her. So it's pretty great. Yes, definitely follow us on Facebook or Instagram. If you're on there, we are, that's where we post most of our pictures and events and different things like that. So for sure, if you're on Facebook or Instagram, definitely follow us.
So I'm looking at the question for accessible beds. So I was going to point it out when Lisa was doing the tour, the metal bed out in front, Lisa, right? That was specifically designed to be accessible, correct?
Right.
Can you just like talk to them about like who you talked to about that and stuff?
Sure. So actually we had a group, a large group of students from an elementary school that visited the farm several times for field trips. And one of the aides in one of those classrooms that was assisting students in wheelchairs was an amazing resource for us. We asked her for feedback about accessing the farm because this is rugged terrain here. And we asked her for feedback about how these students felt accessing the farm. And I think with children or adults, we want this to be an accessible farm. And so she told us that we need to have at least one activity in all areas that someone could access in a wheelchair. So we bought this garden bed out here. It's just a stock tank from Tractor Supply, but this area is very accessible. I'm going to switch my phone around here. Sorry. I'm not going to try to walk and talk at the same time. Did it move? There we go. So this bed here has people can have the opportunity to come up and access this and work here. Obviously it's the end of the season, so it's looking a little sad, and if we needed to, we could definitely add more of these. They're not super expensive, and actually these pumpkins grew really well in here. So we're trying to make sure that when we build the yurts, so we'll have, there's a slight slope over where the yurts are going to be built. So we'll have a handicap ramp to go up onto that decking structure. And then we'll make sure that one of our sleeping yurts is handicap accessible. It'll be probably the first yurt in the forest, and we'll build an accessible ramp to get into it.
Okay, well, I guess with that, I don't see any more questions in the feed or folks haven't spoken up. So I want to thank you all for being here for us. And I think we'll bring the program back to Neil Norum.
Yeah, well, thank you, Lisa and Kathy for joining us today and inspiring us with what's happening in Paxton and across the campus. And thank you for being here today. And please check out the WPI Tech Old Timers website for up-to-date programming. On November 4th, we welcome musician Roger Tricknell for a performance in recognition of Veterans Day. The program is called This Land Is Your Land. It's about Americana and patriotic songs. At this time, our formal presentation ends, and as time permits, please remain online to enjoy a social conversation until 3:30. Again, thank you for joining us this afternoon, and I look forward to seeing you next month. By the way, today is Robert Goddard's birthday.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much.